In this video, I'm gonna call up two of my friends who are professional cinematographers. Yeah, are you still cool to help out? It's probably just gonna take like 10 minutes.
Yeah, no worries.
And we're gonna see if they can tell the difference between actual 16mm film and a project that I shot on a Sony FX3 and graded with Dehancer. So we're at the end. Are you confident in all your answers?
Absolutely. I'm not confident in any of them.
Wow, this is actually way closer than I thought. But I also have a few tricks up my sleeve, so let's see how it goes. First, I needed to find actual 16mm film. The clip I chose was from another YouTuber. I chose this clip from Mark Brown Films. Now, I don't know this person, but they had several authentic 8 and 16mm wedding films on their YouTube channel, which looked really nice. We're gonna use a quick snip from one of their videos as our 16mm example. Now on to our digital clip. I went through all my footage and found a few clips from a wedding I shot this year, enough to put together a small sequence. Here are the clips I decided on. Now let's bring the clips into DaVinci Resolve and grade these with Dehancer. Before we get into that, I just want to say that I actually had a bit of an issue recording my screen while I was doing the walkthrough grade, so the side of DaVinci is actually cut off. Thank you for sticking with it, even though it is a little janky. Alright, so here we are in DaVinci Resolve Studio with our 3 clips that we're looking to turn into film clips. So these clips are from a wedding project that I shot recently. I shot them using the FX3 in S-Log3. In terms of digital sharpness, these images are incredibly sharp and incredibly not film. So at this wedding, we have 3 shots here. We have a wide of the dance floor, we have a tight of the bride and groom, and then we have a mid of the kiss at the end of the first dance. Pretty simple sequence. And what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to turn these into something that could convince a professional cinematographer that they were shot on film. And to do that, we're going to use the Dehancer plugin and the Dehancer plugin only. I'm not using any other tools at all. So let's go find the plugin. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to select my camera because we're going right from S-Log3. And already you can see this is a very pleasant look. Like, I really like the warmth and the character coming off of this image. We need to confirm our film profile. Now, Dehancer comes with a variety of different film stock emulations. My general rule of thumb is that if you don't know what to pick, go into Kodak's portfolio. Kodak Vision 3 250D. I really like that color look. And now let's dial in the fine tunes. Exposure comp allows you to change your exposure. Temperature comp is your blue and orange. Tint comp, green and purple, green and magenta. Next, we have the film developing tab. And this one's also very straightforward. You have contrast boost, but make sure to enable it because a lot of these settings don't come enabled. So this is your contrast. Now, I'm not going to adjust this too much because there are other ways in Dehancer that we can make these adjustments that I find to be better for certain things. Next, we have gamma, so that's going to pull some information out of our shadows. Color separation, so this affects areas with high color density like faces, and color boost can be seen as a general saturation adjustment to high color concentration areas. Here we have our film tab where we chose our film stock, so one of the first things you should be addressing. We also have an option for push and pull, which depending on the film stock you've chosen will affect the image in different ways. If I pull the film, I'm losing a lot of the deep blacks and the shadows, and I'm getting a lot more color from the film stock. Next we go down to film compression. Now this represents a variety of tools which allow you to adjust your highlights. So again, we're going to click enable. And already you can see the adjustments baked in are knocking down the highlights in the window and on the dress, which I really like because it's keeping everything within range. I really like using white point to dial in the extreme highlights. So as you can see, this is attacking just the whites, just this area in the window, this area in the dress, and this area in the upper window. Tone range is going to address global highlights within the image, and you can see it's going to take a lot of the white energy out of the shirt and the face. And then color density is going to address color in the highlight areas like the face and the windows. So you can see max color density, everything's really pink and bright, and then minimum color density, everything gets more washed out and returns to more of that orange base that we had in the Kodak film. Similar to white point, we have black point, which is going to allow you to adjust your blacks. But adjusting the black point of your image, super important. I think I'm going to keep mine pretty high because it is film. We're not working with a ton of dynamic range. Next, we go down to print, which is essentially a second layer of adjustment on top of your film stock. There's a couple more options here if you really wanted to dive into it, what the different film prints would look like. I really like the Fuji, actually. The Fuji's looking pretty nice. So I'm going to go with Endura Glossy here because I like the way it kind of flattens everything down. And then a really neat option within Dehancer is the fact that they have an analog range limiter. So in this case, I'm a bit too hot and I'm a bit too dark, and you can see it takes the blacks and the whites and crushes them together, so we have a less expanded range. I think the image does look really nice though. So the last block within Dehancer for image coloring is the Color Head tab. Once you've enabled it, Color Head allows you to make color-specific changes within your film stock. So if I wanted to, say, move the balance from yellow to blue, I could do that. Magenta to green, cyan to red. I essentially look at this as a film type HSL panel, which allows you to dial in some more fine-tuned details. Now we're going to go into some of the other settings that make Dehancer so special. We're going to start with film grain, which is enabled by default. So if we zoom in on our couple here, you'll notice that we already got tons of grain. It's bouncing around, little dancing ants all over our scene, but it's relatively modest film grain because it's 35/250. So what you need to know about film grain in Dehancer is that the lower the millimeters, the more intense the grain, and the higher the ISO, the more intense the grain. 8mm 50 will be a lot more intense than our 35. You can see it's a lot rougher. The grain is a lot bigger, and overall it's caused a blur on our image because it's thicker grain. But if you see, if I just like turn this off, how smooth the footage is without, I mean, there's a bit of grain because I was shooting at second base ISO, but you can just see how smooth the footage is without the grain. The grain really helps to roughen it up, make it look a bit more natural, and bring out some of the natural texture within the image as well. I also have to play the metagame too, because I know my professional cinematographer friends will have the frame of mind that they know that weddings aren't shot on a 35mm film. That would be prohibitively expensive. So I have to stay within 8 or 16 anyway, because if they see like really light grain of like a 35 or a 65, they're gonna be like, no way. Next we go into halation, which is an often underappreciated aspect of these film emulation softwares, and one feature that I think Dehancer pulls off quite well. Halation, I don't have the clinical definition in front of me, but what it often manifests is as a red magenta line that outlines the highlights of your image. It's almost like a light diffraction or a physical abnormality within the optics of your lens. Like with grain, the lower in the millimeters we go, the more intense. So let's just see all halation here. Intense halation. Here's the max halation. So that's a good example of what halation does. Everything's got that warm glow. And if you're not careful, halation, particularly on bright subjects, can really distort your image and give everything a super warm tone. Not to mention at this level, it just looks kind of strange. We're going to keep it super subtle with the halation. And of course, using Dehancer, you can mask where you want your areas of halation. There's a lot of flexibility with that feature. Next, we go into bloom, which is kind of a dispersion of some of the white or brighter elements within the scene. It's a detriment to your contrast, but it gives the image a glowy type feel that is often associated with film. On, off. You can really see it in the dark areas of the pants and the dresses. On, off, on, off. And I don't mind it, honestly. It kills your contrast a bit, but in areas where there's like direct lights, it's really helpful. The next section in Dehancer is film damage. So when you enable this, it's going to bring in little artifacts and abstract damages onto the top of your film as if it wasn't completely perfect, perfect stock. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think that film damage in Dehancer, that setting is perfectly serviceable in a plugin. I think it does a good job. But if you're looking for something specific in terms of how your damage looks, often I find it's better to find a overlay example of that film damage and then to include it as a effect rather than in Dehancer. Like include it as a blend mode overlay on your footage. I find that you can get better success using that. But for film damage just in a plugin, I think it works. Now, film breath is probably my favorite feature in Dehancer, even though, again, it is quite subtle. A lot of other film emulation softwares don't have something comparable to film breath, so I think that if you have Dehancer, you have a leg up on the competition. What film breath does is essentially it applies subtle changes to the colors of your image over time. Essentially, you give Dehancer the ability to kind of move where the colors are in your image, always coming back to your initial grade, but there's just subtle changes that happen that make it look like, every piece of film is a little different. And in reality, that's what it looks like. So, and you can see there's almost a flicker of color going on in the image, which I think that's really cool. Like for a plugin to add, that in itself is certainly worth the price of admission. I'm not going to make it that dramatic. I think I might keep it on, let's try 16. I like 16. The color's nice. Next, we go to gate weave. So gate weave is the subtle play back and forth of your film as it's being shot in the camera. So the film is going to jitter back and forth ever so slightly, indicating that there is a bit of play in the mechanism. And once again, with film emulation, it's about the subtle changes and the subtle details that really sell the concept you're trying to push. And we've got a bit of jitter back and forth. You can kind of see the jitter and it bounces if you watch the corners of the frame. Approaching the bottom of our image, we have a vignette tool. You should be familiar with this working in any video editing software suite, but what the vignette tool does, it's going to add a darkness around the edge of our image. I really like how this image has come out. It looks really cool, colorful, warm, inviting. I think that Dehancer, for like a quick and dirty grade, has done a great job. So our fake film Dehancer video clip is done. It's time to trick some cinematographers, aka my friends. So for this test, I'm not just going to be showing 2 clips to our cinematographers, I'm going to be showing 4. The first clip is just to see if they're paying attention. I cut together some parts of the Oppenheimer trailer into a short sequence. That's just to mess with them. They should get that one. The second clip is going to be what we just graded, that little video sequence that we created with Dehancer. The third clip is going to be a small sequence of actual 16mm film. And the fourth clip is a control clip. I got it directly from the Dehancer showcase page. I'm including this just in case it's my color grading skills that are off, so this should hopefully represent a best case scenario grade with Dehancer. So our test will go as follows. We're going to be showing 4 small video sequences to 2 cinematographers, and the order will go film, Dehancer, film, Dehancer. Let's see how they do. So the name of the first cinematographer we're going to be testing is Spencer Stanley. He's a local commercial cinematographer who owns his own company in the city I'm based out of, and in my opinion, I think he's going to be quite good at this. Let me paint the scene for you here. So I am sitting in my basement in the corner of the room on a stool because I don't have a fancy home office setup like yourself.
I'm gonna look at it from my computer, so I got a better.
Oh, you're gonna look on your computer? I was kind of hoping you'd just look at it on your phone.
Okay, I'm going to example 1. Sorry, we're at the park. We got Cillian Murphy.
You got my bait right off the bat. That's like my troll clip.
Okay, yeah. So
Okay, I should have realized this was Oppenheimer. I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, but anyways, I know that's film. That's
specific IMAX film. So okay, got that one.
The other ones are the real test.
So I'm looking at
example number 2, which is a wedding, and they're doing some type of limehouse dancing. I'm really bad with dancing. What I'm looking for to see if this is film or not is to see if the autofocus is bad, and that would be a dead giveaway for me if there was a hunting.
I honestly never thought about that.
Dehancer and film,
Like if you do it properly, even if you don't do it properly, it's really hard to tell. I'm gonna go ahead and say that number 2 I think is digital, and I think you use Dehancer. That's my first guess. There's no crazy things though. Like I don't see any crazy elation, which would be a dead giveaway. There's no crazy bloom, although it does look like not very sharp. It could be film, but I'm gonna say this one's not film. Okay, I'm on example 3, another couple at a wedding. This one looks more filmy, more like real film to me. I still don't think it is. To me, when I look at this, it looks like the frame rate has been slightly slowed from 24 to 18 if it wasn't real film. I guess you could look at maybe the bokeh in the lens.
Okay, so what is this clip?
I'm just thinking here for a second. I'm just rewatching the beginning a couple times here. Oh, I don't know. It's almost like shaky like film too. Like it looks like it was like when you're scanning film. I'm gonna actually just say it's film for fun. Example 3's film. I'm moving on to example 4. Okay, we got some Super 8 looking stuff, sailboaty stuff. This could be film. So if you look at like the dirty frame kind of thing that you got going on there, the top and the bottom are mirrored. I don't know if that would be mirrored like that. I'm gonna say this is film. Like the clip where he's rolling up the sail or doing whatever he's doing, that looks like film to me. So I'm just gonna say that's film.
So we're at the end. Are you confident in all your answers?
Absolutely. I'm not confident in any of them aside from the Oppenheimer one.
Wow, this is actually way closer than I thought. Number one, obviously, Oppenheimer, shot on 65 millimeter, 70 millimeter IMAX film. Example two is Sony FX3 footage.
What did I say?
You said digital, and my face just lit up when you said autofocus hunting, because I didn't think of that at all. I just did like a quick 10-minute grade with Dehancer, and I tried to make it as filmic as I could, and you still caught it, so you got me. I tried to trick you, and you got me. So example three is a proper 16 millimeter film. And as soon as you called out, right? You said film, yeah, exactly. So
I was going back and forth on it
though, but it does, like, a gut feeling is like it does look like film. It, like we talked about the gate weave thing.
Yeah.
I know Dehancer does that, but it doesn't do it as well as real film, I think.
When you called out the weird frame rate, I was like, oh duh, like why didn't I make my clip like 20 frames per second or something? I think that would have sold it a bit better. The last one you called film. But it's not. It's a Dehancer plugin.
This looks very much like film.
I thought it was completely cooked when you said, oh, this is just an overlay, and it's obviously doubled from top to bottom. I'm like, done. Yeah, everyone's heard of the film overlays. Like,
if it was footage
that you took that I knew was obviously something you took, it would have been maybe a bit more of a giveaway, but this is like somewhere on a beach. I don't remember the last time I've seen you on a beach, so.
Oof, true. Yeah, never had a project on a beach. The next cinematographer we're going to be talking to is Eric Peters. Eric is a longtime cinematographer based in my city who owns his own commercial video production company called Unreal Creative. Eric does a lot of music videos and he knows his special effects, so it's going to be pretty difficult to fool him.
This first one feels very,
like, I don't know, sharp. It's
probably digital for me.
And anything
like
else?
This is digital.
Anything else popping out to you?
I mean, like the sharpness of the focus points, like they're crisp. It's really well done.
So what do you think?
I'd say this is digital though. This is
digital. First one is digital.
Yeah. So are you putting like overlays on top of them too to fake me out? The sharp. Oh, this is digital. I can tell from maybe it's how the light. It's like all the reflections, the light where the light's hitting on the metal looks very not filmic. So I think this is obviously fake. Like this is shot on film and added a film overlay, but that's what's getting me. No, this is definitely digital. Same thing. This is digital made to look like film.
You sound very sure.
Yeah, and the lights on the far right, just they flicker with a weird. If you pause it on the lights, it flickers with a weird like digital effect. Like it's just blooming weird. I think on film that would be much softer. I don't know. The grain looks very muddy. It's got some good effects with like film scratches and stuff. Yeah, this is digital. This is film.
No other comments?
I'm thinking. It's very hard to tell. Yeah, this is film. It's got a very nice bloom on those lights. This one's colors, like it's darker. It's not that grainy in the shadows, which makes me look into it being film. It's got more of a natural grain than like that added on grain that you, in the last clip, that you definitely added. No, this is film. I'm sticking with that.
That was a really impressive showing. You did really good.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you're the best one so far. I had so example one you said was digital.
Yeah.
That was my troll clip. That's actually just some clips from the Oppenheimer trailer.
So okay, I didn't want to say anything about it, but I was positive. I was like, this looks like it's a movie, and it looks like it's shot in an RE or something.
Ironically enough, you got that one wrong because that one's shot on 65 millimeter. You know, bad start with the Oppenheimer stuff, but then you aced the rest of it. So example two is the one that I graded, the one of the barn wedding dance.
Yeah, this looks like very Sony footage.
What does that mean?
But like, sorry, not Sony. I should have said like JVC like camcorder footage. Just the way it came off. Just the way you graded it was like trying to emulate film, but it was so digital. You know what I mean?
Example three is the darker of the weddings, and so that is true 16 millimeter film. You caught that one too.
Another thing that caught
my eye was when the flash goes off. It's a global shutter. So that was something that like the whole room illuminated, which normally for camcorders it'll be split when a flash goes off because of the rolling shutter, right?
So example 4 was my control for Dehancer. So that clip's just from the showcase page of Dehancer, and that's what they showcase that you can do with the software. And you were able to call it out as well because you're like, oh, they're not going to put the film lead on the thing.
Yeah. That's it always throws away the effect that it's fake, even when they use it like real footage. It's a digital thing, you know. But I think what caught my eye was just the halation effects on the boat and everything, and the metal. It just refracted weird. If you took off the sidebars here, I probably could be mistaken on this clip.
Was this easier or harder than you thought it would be?
Harder. I can't believe I got the first one wrong. This is cool. I don't know. Definitely hard to tell nowadays with film emulation softwares and built-in effects. Clearly, like, companies are doing it because it's getting closer and closer to looking more and more like film. But it does a very good job, like, of emulating a lot of those things. Like example 4 definitely is a great example.
So it looks like with a little bit of effort, you might be able to trick a professional cinematographer with Dehancer. Which brings me to my final thoughts about the product. In my opinion, Dehancer is a professional tool with a high skill ceiling and a low barrier to entry. It's very easy to make your videos look good with Dehancer. In fact, it's incredibly easy. And I love the unique effects like film breath and gate weave that really make Dehancer stand out amongst the competition. Dehancer also has a new mobile app for iOS users, which I've heard is quite good despite not having used it myself. But I will say the software is very expensive, more expensive than a key for DaVinci Resolve Studio. If you're a casual editor, you might find it better to go with a more cost-effective option. That being said, if you do purchase Dehancer, I don't think you'll regret it. Now, this video is not sponsored by Dehancer, but I did let them know I would be making this video, and they kindly gave me a 10% off code, which I could distribute to you guys in the description. So if you're looking to get a discount on Dehancer, you can do so with my link below. Let me know if you want me to run more tests like this in the future. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.